Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com. Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, and today's safety tip is think about who is coming to a warehouse location after you. Be sure to leave the location in a safe, clean, and easy to access state. Not only will this reflect well on your part, but it will also allow other operators to be safer and more efficient when they come to that location next, whether it's for replenishment, put away, picking, whatever the case may be. You want to think about who will come to that location next and make it easily accessible for them and in a safe manner. Always think about the next step and how you can make it easier for goods to flow through your operation in a safe and efficient manner.
With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. Fulfillment demand continues to skyrocket and outpace available labor. To keep up, warehouse operators are turning to flexible fulfillment solutions like 6 River Systems. Utilizing 6 River Systems' award-winning combination of collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, and operational expertise will make your associates and wall-to-wall fulfillment workflow more efficient. No new infrastructure, no change to warehouse layout, easy to deploy and scale, easy to train and retain associates, all at half the cost of traditional automation. Want to take your fulfillment operation to the next level? Go to www.6river.com to learn more. That's www.6river.com to learn more.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
All right, all, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast and your host on today's show. No guest today. I'm going to share some of my insights, but for today's show, I'm going to discuss warehouse moves. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about our newsletter. I've taken a bit of a break from sending it over the last 2 months as I have been expanding my role in the day job that you guys hear me mention from time to time on the show. And I've also taken on 2 teaching jobs. I'm teaching management information systems for the global supply chain, dealing with SAP and ERP systems. I'm also teaching a business logistics course as well, which is a new experience for me. It's been really exciting, but also a lot of work as well, getting that prepared. But now I'm on a roll. So I will be resuming the newsletter this week and continuing to send every Friday morning. So if you are not subscribed, please head to thenewwarehouse.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for warehouse alerts. And I hope to see you subscribe. I share some additional insights and recap the week of episodes on those emails as well. So definitely check it out and subscribe. Now on to today's topic, warehouse moves. So a warehouse move is in regards to moving an operation from one location to another, adding an additional location, or consolidating locations into one. I've experienced multiple warehouse moves in my career, and they can be incredibly stressful times, especially when a company is just growing to the point of expansion and setting the course for their future. With the growth of e-commerce and distribution in general, companies are expanding the distribution footprint constantly. So I thought it would be a good time to share some of my insights from what I've experienced from seeing this firsthand and being a part of many teams who have done these types of moves for a couple different companies. So while a move will never be perfect, I wanted to share some tips that I've learned over my career that will help to make your moves smoother. So the first tip definitely is you cannot move without a plan. If you think that you are going to just take all the product you have in one building, shove it in some trucks and send it over, and everything will go smoothly, then you are absolutely wrong. You definitely need to create a plan. And when you create that plan, you need to involve all the teams who will be executing the plan. So we don't want to make this plan at a high level and just think that this is the way it's going to work. You want to make the plan based on the thoughts of the executive team saying that, okay, I want this amount of inventory moved by this date and this amount of inventory moved by this date. Well, there may be deadlines because the building is coming out of lease or you're selling the building, whatever the case may be. That is understandable, and you can work to that deadline through the plan. But the team that is actually executing needs to create the plan, because the plan needs to be incredibly detailed and it needs to make sense for your capability. So you want to get the people that are going to be, leading the move involved, get the people that are going to be in the warehouse actually doing the moves involved. And whether you have your own transportation in-house or you're working with a certain carrier to do this, you want them to be involved too. You want them to understand what you're trying to achieve. And you also want their insights too of how can you do this effectively, what is possible, what is not possible, and make it make sense for your capabilities. So you want people that can think about the system aspect. You want them to think about the space that you have. So you're going to need space. Sure, if you have a new building, you're going into a new building, you have a ton of space, right? It seems like a blank canvas, but you want to think about that space strategically. Where are you going to unload the product? And then where is it going to end up after unloading on the put away process? You also want to think about transportation. Do you have a dedicated carrier that can handle this for you? You're going to have to use multiple carriers. How can they deliver? What is the frequency that they can deliver? How many trucks can they do a day? If you're looking to do multiple trucks a day, it's all dependent upon the scale of the move, how much inventory you're moving, and what other things you need to move as well. You also need to think about your head count in that plan. This is incredibly important because you are most likely going to be trying to work in the old facility through the move. A lot of us do not have the luxury to just start fresh and just bring in new inventory. Even for larger companies that I've worked with, there have been transfers from other facilities in, or there has been a closure of a facility into a bigger facility. So there's always going to be some sense of bringing old inventory in the old facility into the new facility. So you need to allocate that headcount to do that and have that resource. You cannot have somebody that needs to be responsible for shipping orders, but then also needs to be responsible for getting 3 trucks of inventory out in the same day. You cannot tax someone with that. You need to allocate the resources and they need to stick with the project. On the new side, you want to make sure that your headcount is allocated in the sense that they understand what they're doing, they're resourced properly, they have the equipment they need, and they are able to execute on what you're asking them to do. And another reminder for a plan is that a plan that is not followed is pointless, right? So when we make this plan, you want to stick to the plan, and if you need to readjust, you can adjust. But you want to make the plan and you want to make it as detailed as possible so everyone at every step knows exactly what to do and where the inventory is going to go, how the process is going to flow, and how you're going to get your operation running by the time that you're set to start running. You also want to keep in mind with the plan, you don't want to underestimate the time and resources needed. Most of the moves that I have been through, I will say that while parts have gone smoothly, there are certain points where you realize you need to put more resources or you underestimated the amount of time something will take to move. So you do not want to underestimate. This is not a time to try and be impressive and impress people that you're going to do this so quickly because there are going to be hiccups along the way. So you definitely want to cushion that a little bit and make sure that you can deliver on what you're guaranteeing for sure. The next tip is inventory counts. So we are moving inventory from one building to the next, right? So inventory moves can allow you to see all of the inventory problems that you had in the old building, which is a bad thing, but also a good thing. So it's a good thing because you have a chance to clean up the inventory and kind of right set going into the new building. But it's a bad thing because it can certainly hinder the move in terms of delaying processes because things are not matching up. You're looking for more stock maybe that you think you still have somewhere, but maybe it's overstated in the system. Or you're finding product that maybe you lost previously and you have to make those adjustments in the system to make the proper move. So my first recommendation on the inventory side is to get rid of any obsolete or non-moving stock beforehand. So you want to start to think about, what product do you really need to move and what product do you really not need to move? If the product is obsolete, it's not selling, hasn't moved in a year or more, there really is no point to move it. You're essentially going to be moving trash. And remember, you're moving to the new facility so that you can properly utilize the space, be more efficient, and then ultimately, save costs. By spending money to move things that don't sell, not only are you going to spend the money for the transportation to move it, you're also going to spend the money for the resources to move it, the headcount, right? And then you're going to spend money in your brand new facility for product that is probably covered in dust to sit there. And, space, while you may have a ton of space now in a new facility, at some point you're going to want that space, and space is not free. You're paying for that space, even though it doesn't seem like it because you just have all this space on hand now. So you definitely want to get rid of that before you do any moves. Make sure that is properly taken out, disposition, whatever the case may be. The next thing is you want to ensure you have the most accurate inventory you can achieve before moving. This can be a difficult thing. I have certainly been a part of moves where the facility and the employees within the facility, they are not moving along with the inventory, either because of geographic location or other circumstances. So ensuring that you have the best counts can be a little difficult because morale can be low. People know what is coming and they don't necessarily want to put in that extra effort. If it is possible, then you would want to potentially do a full physical inventory in the building that you are going to exit before you start to move. This may be tricky because you may still be in operation before you're moving, but you want to try and ensure that you have the best counts you can possibly have. And when you do that, you want to make sure that you're putting employees in position to count that you trust to have accurate counts, to ensure that they are going to have accurate counts. You don't want to just pull everybody in that you can. When it comes to inventory, I always say more heads is not necessarily the solution to getting a count done. You want to have people that know what they're counting, they can accurately count. And, it may sound a little silly saying, you want people that can accurately count because who cannot count? But when it comes to products and looking at pallets, layers, layouts of pallets, configurations, knowing certain products, you want people that know that stuff in and out and are able to easily count and give you those accurate counts. If you end up not counting, not having accurate inventory before you're moving, you're essentially going to be transferring your problems from one building to the next. So it's really giving you a chance to start with a clean slate and get to a point where, your operation can start running smoothly. Because the last thing you want is you get these holdups when you're moving. You transfer product over. The pallet is supposed to have 100 pieces on it. Now, all of a sudden, it's got 130 pieces on it physically. In the system, you got 100 pieces on your transfer or whatever type of vehicle you're using in the system to transfer that inventory. And now you're looking to see, is there still inventory left over in the old building? If so, is it actually physically there? If it's not, well then, okay, let's get it moved in the system. But now you're taking those resources, people going back at the old building to check to see, is it physically there? Where is the inventory, right? So you don't want to bring these issues in. So you want to be as accurate as possible. So it means you want to count before you start to move. You want to count as you're moving before it's leaving your old facility, as they're picking the product out to get ready to load on that truck to send to the new facility. And then you want to count it on the way in as well. You don't want to take the employee's word for it, whoever sent it, of what's on that pallet, what's in that box. You want to make sure that the people putting away are being accurate. They're counting the product as well, or receiving it in, checking it in, whoever that head count is. You want to have somebody that is checking that to make sure it's accurate before it goes into location in your new facility. Very, very important, or you're going to end up with a lot of inventory issues right off the bat, and you do not want that. Absolutely not. I've seen that where employees have just kind of given up, started just throwing things in boxes, and it was a nightmare to clean up. Luckily, it was like...
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Towards the end, and it was just a few pallets of things. But I'll tell you, it was probably like 10 pallets. I think at the end, they just threw a bunch of stuff on there, all mixed. And it took probably a good month, almost 2 months to get through that stuff and understand where is the inventory showing, if it's showing anywhere, and then try and reconcile and actually make it available in the new facility. So you do not want to run into that. It's so many headaches, and it's going to take so much more resources to try and resolve those issues than you really want to allocate. So very, very important to make sure your inventory is very, very well counted on both sides of the spectrum. The next tip is to standardize and train beforehand. So before you start to make the move, you want to understand your standard processes. Make sure that they are solid, they've been documented, updated, that the process makes sense to the plan you're going to do as well. If you need to make a separate standard work for the plan, then definitely do that as part of your planning process. And then you want to make sure that it is properly trained out. Now, the people at the old facility, they should be properly trained already. The new facility is really the key. You want to make sure that your staff at the new facility is fully trained on the process. They understand how to receive these products in, how to put them into the location that they're going to end up being in. And they want to understand the flow of the material as well. This is very important because you don't want to bring stuff in and then just start putting it wherever the employee thinks it just should go. Like, oh, it looks like it could fit in this location, I'm going to put it in this location. You want to have a plan. Where should that product go? And this goes back to our slotting episode, which is a long time ago, but I will link that at thenewwarehouse.com as well with the blog post that goes along with this. But very important to understand where should that product be located in the facility, because you want to start off with things in the right place. If you're just going to put stuff away just to put it away, and that may be enticing because it may be faster to get things done, you're going to end up causing yourself a lot of headache down the road when you try and slot your product properly and get it into the proper position to make sure that you're having the most efficient picks or whatever the case may be. So you definitely want to make sure there's a plan in place for where your product is going to go. And if you can set it up in the system to direct it put away, then certainly do that as well. So very important, make sure that all the new staff are trained at the new facility, and if possible, have an existing staff member from the older facility be on site at the new facility to help lead that process and help manage those people through the training and help them, troubleshoot if they have any issues. Very, very important to have that type of support there. You also want to make sure that your flow makes sense as well, and that they understand the flow. So when you're unloading, there should be a certain area where is the product going to go, And then from that unloading off the dock, then where is the product going to go? Is there another staging area potentially, depending on how you're organized? Or is it going to go directly to the racking area or whatever type of locations you have? Make sure it's very clear. You could even do a little map of the facility and lay it out, give it to each person that is working in the process, and make sure everyone understands. It's also very important that you use visual indications for a product that is ready to be put away. So when it's getting checked in, received, processed in the system, when it's ready to be put away, make sure that you're using something so that the put away people don't have to constantly be directed on what to put away. They know that, okay, this pallet has a green cone. Okay, I can take it for put away. It's ready to go. And then also have your area for issues as well. You're going to have issues no matter what. I wish I could tell you that your warehouse move is going to be the smoothest thing ever. It's going to be perfect, but it's just simply not the case. There are going to be issues somewhere. So you want to designate an area for those issues, and you also want to designate a time frame for those issues to be resolved and troubleshooted, or else it'll just build up and it'll get away from you and it'll cause more issues down the line. So you definitely want to do that and make sure that that is clearly marked and clearly understood by everybody in the process as well. And so standardization and training, big key to this process. The next tip is to adjust the flow of goods as needed. So we set a plan in the beginning, and just because we set a plan does not mean that we can change the plan and adjust the plan as needed. This is a very important thing to remember, because as the goods are flowing from one warehouse to the other, you can run into certain speed bumps. I know that I was doing a move. We had one dedicated carrier who had a couple trucks, and they were going back and forth each day between facilities. And one day, well, the one truck got in an accident. So that threw us off, right? So we needed to adjust. So some items, they may take longer to get to you, whatever the case may be. There's things that happen like that. You need to be able to adjust. The last thing you want to happen is for an overwhelming situation to start to occur at the receiving warehouse. So you want to make sure that you're not slamming so much inventory in that building that the people working there are going to get overwhelmed and they're not going to be able to keep up. And pretty soon it's just going to be, looking at it is going to make them feel like, I'm never going to get through this. You don't want to create that situation. So you have to take into account that some items, they take longer to put away, whether it's, they're smaller items, they're specially packaged items, specially handled items. Some things may take longer to put away. When you get to those, you may want to slow down the flow of the inventory to the new facility, or you may want to mix it up, do only a couple of those items in one truck and spread it out over time. You also want to be able to adjust the amount of inventory coming on a daily basis if there is that backup, right? So you want to be able to have that contingency plan in place and say, okay, let's shut it off for one day so we can catch up. We ran into this issue. Let's not have all this stuff back up on the dock. And then you get into a spot where maybe at some point there's not even space to unload anymore, and you don't want to get there. So you definitely want to be able to be fluid in that and be able to recognize that. I think, one part of that is being able to recognize when you do that. And you want to make sure that your employees are not afraid to say that. Say, hey, we need to slow down a little bit because we ran into this issue here. Let's clear this issue, and then we can start the flow again, however the flow cadence may be. So very important to be able to do that and also recognize that and create the atmosphere where it's okay to say that. You don't want to put so much pressure on the employees that they are feeling like they can't say that everything is not okay, because it will be a problem for them. It is okay to say that everything is not okay. While it's not ideal in the grand scheme of things, you don't want to make a bigger issue. So very, very important. So that leads us to the last tip, which is do not stress and you will get there. It is a stressful situation without a doubt. I know other people that have been through moves as well as myself, and it's long hours at times to get it done because you run into different issues that are unexpected. and it is a lot going on. So remember that the move will happen, and it needs to happen. So it will happen. Just remember to work your plan, adjust the flow as needed, and do not create an overwhelming situation, which I said before, for all parties, right? Manage the expectations of your leadership and understand the deadlines. So you have deadlines, I'm sure, because most of the time when these things are happening, either one facility is closing, it's changing hands, you need to be exited from it by a certain point because the lease is up, or you sold the property and the new owner is taking over, or other reasons beyond that. So, but you want to make sure you're managing the expectations of leadership. You want to definitely embrace the under promise and over deliver in this situation, because the last thing you need is, like I said, to have a overwhelming and stressful, pressure filled situation happen when you're doing a move like this, because there's so much going on that you need it 100% to be done correctly. While moving fast is a great thing, but if you're going to create a bunch of new issues in your new facility, you're going to be paying for them down the road for a long time. I can guarantee that. So you definitely want to remember that. So these are kind of my tips for warehouse moves. I have been through quite a few at this point now, and it's always interesting. And you want to definitely make sure that you are, planning, following that plan, ensure that your inventory counts are good. Make sure that you're standardizing and training the process out, especially if you have new employees that will be involved in the process. Make sure they understand the time to train is not when the first trailer gets to the facility. You probably want to send maybe some sample training product ahead of time to do that, but you definitely want them ready to go when that first truck gets. That's not the testing time. So very important to remember. And of course, keep a good atmosphere for the employees so that they can perform with as little stress as possible and help you to get the job done without feeling totally overwhelmed, because it absolutely can become an overwhelming situation with a lot of product coming into the facility and a lot of new things taking place. So those are my tips. I definitely am interested in hearing yours as well. So please, if you can, share your stories of warehouse moves and operational moves with me on LinkedIn. You can find me Kevin Lawton. It's Lawton, or there will be a LinkedIn post on the New Warehouse page with this episode information on today, 10/11. So you can comment on that or send me a message on LinkedIn. Go on thenewwarehouse.com, check out the blog post for this episode and leave a comment, or you can email me directly at kevin@thenewwarehouse.com. These are just a few tips, so I would certainly be interested in hearing some from you, the listener, and your experiences as well. Even if you would like to come on the show and share your experiences as well, feel free to email me at kevin@thenewwarehouse.com. So I want to take the last seconds here just to thank you for all of your support over the last 2.5 years of the episode. It sounds a little crazy to say it's been that long for the podcast, but it will be 3 years, like in March. So pretty wild. I never thought this would become what it is now, but I am very grateful to everyone that has supported and listened over the past 2.5 years. So thank you very much. If you like the show, please leave a review. And if you want more, go to thenewwarehouse.com.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.